Hands down, the best statement in the entire history of Dragon Ball Super was just made. Android 17 turned to look at the fighters he knew would be the key to Universe 7's survival. And in honor of something that he and his sister shared, he anticipated the next action that only he knew he was about to make. Sacrificing myself for others. I kind of like how human that is. It had become a common theme between them. Android 18 mentioned it as her brother questioned why she had jumped off the stage after him. Her reply, "You like sappy, human stuff like this, right?" He had been given a second chance. You see, born humans, then suddenly modified, the robotic lifestyle of an android had once been a more natural way for them to live. But after meeting the Z fighters and changing their ways, both Android 17 and Android 18 found themselves with families of their own, and humanly ways of living were now what they were fighting to keep alive. Android 17 looked up to see his sister appear in the stands. She yelled down to remind him that now he really owed her, and that he better not lose. When he nodded, he made a promise to truly give it his all from that point forward. I'm sure you agree with me when I say that he fulfilled that promise far past our expectations. The defeat against Annie Raza that never would have been so easy had it not been for his specific knowledge of the ultrasonic waves some animals use to detect movement around them was only one way that he used his learned craft as a ranger to great use during the Tournament of Power. The calmness that he used as he took on the God of Destruction Topo that none of the other Universe 7 fighters ever would have been able to use was deserving of great respect, which he gained from many Dragon Ball Super fans since then, and especially now, as the white light fitting of the pure-hearted Android 17 engulfed everything around him. Not a single one of us was left doubting that he was truly a valuable player in this devastating game. But there is one problem that this scene created. Android 17 had done exactly what he had set out to do: protect Goku and Vegeta as they laid there unable to move, simply waiting for Jiren's terrifyingly monstrous attack to finish them. But let me ask you this: what's stopping Jiren from doing this same exact attack again? And this time, there would be no barriers to protect them. You see the problem, right? Jiren wasted absolutely no time showing off his wide range of auras after that smile had shockingly appeared on his face. This is what we've been waiting literally months to see, and yet I find myself still in a state of wonder. It's like we expected to have some answers about Jiren's extremely mysterious character by the time he pulled out all that hidden strength. But now that it was here, we still barely knew anything about him, leaving many of us with a simple statement that shouldn't be on the minds of any Dragon Ball Super fan. Universe 7 is definitely about to lose. Thankfully, there were two things that distracted us from this horrible thought. The first being the statement the Zenos made. It was clear just by looking at the Dragon Ball Super episode 127 preview that Jiren's auras were unlike anything else we've seen before in the show. But as the Zenos gawked at his amazing power, they made that thought even more of a reality. They literally said that Jiren was on fire. It's yet to be determined if this is just an awesome animation to make him stand out from everybody else, or if there's actually something more significant about the fire surrounding him that could explain the large gap between his power and everybody else's. Regardless, it gave us at least one new piece of information to help us understand exactly who Jiren is. The second thing distracting us from our fears for Universe 7 was the most awesome attack we've ever seen Android 17 pull off. And I'm not just saying that because I'm currently crying my eyes out after his self-destruction. This attack had me astonished. I knew he was strong, but whoa. But let's be honest here. Who else found it funny that Universe 11's Supreme Kai was all, "Oh my gosh, Jiren is wounded"? Really? A hole in a uniform and maybe a few scratches on his back? Not really what I would consider a wound, but I guess that's about as close to a for real injury we should expect for someone this strong. It wasn't just Android 17's amazing attack that gave me some hope for Universe 7 though. It was more the realization that this gave to Goku. We've already heard those false hopes fueled by panic before this episode that Goku and Vegeta still have a chance against Jiren. But here's the difference difference between this time and back then. It was in Dragon Ball Super episode 123 that Goku and Vegeta finally teamed up. The sad thing about this whole situation though was that they hated working together, and therefore their attacks were sloppy and not coordinated at all. However, Jiren seemed to be struggling. It was the first sign we had ever seen that Jiren might actually have a weakness. As Whis noted, the incoordination between them was ironically the reason Jiren was having troubles countering them. And with that statement, Beerus jumped up filled with excitement and joy. There was still a very real chance that Universe 7 would be the one to survive. See the difference? This hopeful statement was made by someone in the stands, an observer, someone just sitting there watching the fight, not actually a part of it. And even though they are all witnessing the same exact attacks, it's just not the same when you're looking at the attack as when you're the one actually dealing or receiving the attack. This hope did not seem to be shared with the ones that were for real involved, but now Goku was the one stating that he actually saw a way to defeat Jiren, and that made me so much happier than I ever thought it would. As someone who's been hoping for some awesome plot twist to happen since the Tournament of Power had started, I've been surprisingly ecstatic to watch scenes such as this one, where the team is working together, giving Jiren a well-deserved taste of his own medicine. And I bet I'm not the only one who's been feeling like this, am I right? But then, things like this quickly bring me back to reality. There's really no other way to put it. Jiren is just too much. However, there's something important to note, and that is the change in his personality just after Android 17 had apparently wounded him. There were quite a few people who didn't agree with me when I said Jiren's smile was showing his true cockiness. Do I agree with those people that he's simply excited to actually be forced to use his full power for once? Yeah, I do agree. But put yourself in Jiren's shoes. You lead a life that consists of protecting innocent lives from evil villains who hold about 1% of your own power. You're probably feeling it as we speak. A confidence in yourself that there literally is no one out there who can outdo you. It's almost impossible not to feel at least a little bit cocky, don't you think? And his actions this week towards Android 17 specifically showed that this was Jiren's pride that was getting hurt, which reminds me a lot about a certain other person named Frieza. When he came out of hiding, just as the Anifam had been predicting, that strange look in his eyes was present. You know the one I'm talking about. The look of someone who's gone completely bonkers. Frieza found himself so furious at the amount of power Universe 11's fighters had been using on him in the last few minutes that he decided to totally push away the tournament rules. Now that I definitely was not expecting. Frieza's whole goal in joining the team for Universe 7 was so that he could be resurrected, or even better, win the Super Dragon Balls and wish for whatever evil master plan he wants. To give all of that away, just to get a quick revenge on a single person? The Dragon Ball Super writers have done such an amazing job of building up Frieza's character that something like this just doesn't fit. Much like the feeling many got after watching Dragon Ball Super episode 126, it started to look like powers were getting nerfed in an attempt to rush through to the end of the Tournament of Power, as Jiren knocked Frieza down to the stage with basically zero effort. But still, there was one other problem that greatly outweighs this unfortunate Frieza nerf. Can I be brutally honest with you here? This second issue has me, well, extremely upset. Who else couldn't wait for this episode to air as soon as that leaked image came out? This was it. How long have we been waiting for this very moment to finally have some backstory about Jiren's life? Now, I will say that the teamwork happening in this episode got me so hyped that I almost forgot this backstory was coming. Especially that moment Android 17 threw up the mini barriers that we had seen in the preview. This was a move that proved to me this episode was going to show us the full extent to Android 17's powers. Many people in the Anifam probably remember, as well as Shay shared my excitement to finally see it. After all, he had once held down Goku's attack as a Super Saiyan Blue like it was nothing, and it had been a long time since we had seen that same level in him return. But when Belmod said he would explain why strength was so important to Jiren, all that excitement from earlier in the day came flooding back to me as he started with the terrible attack made on Jiren's parents, leaving him orphaned. We were instantly able to see the connection as to why he strived to be so strong. However, with the immense power that he holds, I was certain something worse was coming for this story. Think about it like this. There have been many others who have dealt with similar situations, yet their powers have never reached even close to the same level as his. Turns out all of his comrades, including the person who had taken him in, as well as trained him, were all horribly defeated, and Jiren ended up alone. Sure, the story was sad, but enough to explain this? Think again. I'm sorry, but this is not what any of us were expecting. The level of upset I am about this sorry excuse of a backstory for the most overpowered enemy Goku has ever had to face in the entire Dragon Ball franchise, and not just by a little, but by miles and miles, is forget it. I'd rather just use my energy focusing on the fact Android 17 has just given Goku and Vegeta that same push that his sister had once given him. Unfortunately, even that is not enough to keep Goku on his feet, leaving Vegeta to face the unbeatable man alone. And as Goku watches helplessly on the sidelines, he starts to remember the many times that, well, in my Discord server, they helped me answer that, the Super Active Anna fan. Use the link in the pinned comment to join the Discord server.